And it's Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVetsMedia. We cover cadets, midshipmen, the military, and veterans proudly since 2008. This is our first Army football huddle of the 2023 season. And joining me tonight, we have Richard Miller calling in from Florida. Richard, how are you?
I'm awesome, Ken. I'm ready for another Army football season.
Yeah, we got the right jersey on, and I had the chance so far to be at two Army football practices on Saturday, which was their last practice in shorts and helmets, and we got a chance to talk to Army coach Jeff Monken, and also a number of players, including several freshmen. They have a talented young quarterback named Champ Harris, who is getting notice, I would say. Big question for Army is this new offense that is being directed by a new offensive coordinator, Drew Thatcher, comes in from Nebraska, not University of, but he's worked at a couple of schools, had tremendous success, basically at the Division II level, and so he's got a new offense, and everybody's excited about it. Army will be throwing the ball a lot of the time this year in the spring game. They threw the ball 70% of the time. Granted, that was something they really wanted to work on. And the two big fullbacks coming back, Tyson Riley and Jacoby Buchanan, mostly sat out the spring. I mean, the coaches know what they can do. They're both trying to get healthy from injuries and bumps and bruises from accumulated in their career so far. But we saw Bryson Daily, the now junior quarterback. He got in a few games last year, had a terrific run for a touchdown, over 50 yards at Massachusetts. Got in a couple of games, and I thought he threw the ball, Richard, pretty well in the plays they were doing, like 7-on-7s and then 11-on-11 drills. And I thought he threw the ball very well. So I think if the season started tomorrow, he would be the quarterback. But they have 3 more weeks before they go to Louisiana Monroe to open the season. And so that's going to be something to watch. They also have sophomore Dwayne Coleman, who I thought played well in the spring game. Kind of learning as he played. You could just absolutely see he's a talented guy, but you could see he's looking downfield and make decisions. Maybe not as fast as they will be. They're faster now. And also Alex Meredith, who is a junior. Actually, I think he's a senior, who took 2 years off from football. He felt he didn't fit in the option offense, I guess, but came back last year and played the scout team quarterback, and now he's ready to go in, can play, and could be a factor, especially early in the season for Army. So Richard, I know you've been following a lot that's going on in college football. Unprecedented breakup apparently of the Pac-12 conference, a conference that goes back 100 years. Hosts the Rose Bowl, and now their teams are going every which way. You've got Washington and Oregon going to the Big Ten, joining USC and UCLA already signed up. And then also Arizona State have left, and Utah has left. So they don't have much left. But it's really a tough situation for Stanford and for California. 2 big programs. I mean, programs don't get any bigger than Stanford. And then you got Eastern Washington State and Oregon State, which were not, kind of 2 of the smaller programs in the conference, but now are really facing a big drop in their revenue if they end up going to the Mountain West. What do you see happening there, Richard? What stood out to you?
What stands out to me at this conference realignment is, frankly, the other teams going to more more like a competitive conferences, it's gonna make those conferences, I feel, it's gonna make them really tight, and it's gonna be really making the regular season, especially when they meet against each other in those games in the conference, they're gonna make them really very important.
Well, it's going to be
It's gonna
something to see what happens to college football, because what it basically does is increases the travel distance for all of the teams. This isn't just for football. This is for all the sports. Stanford's got as many teams as anybody, close to 30, and they're all going to have to, if they go to a new conference. But when you look at Washington, what their travel is going to be, and Oregon, everybody wants Oregon because of the Nike connection, that they are funded so heavily by Nike that they're always going to be a strong program. I'll see if that holds up when they move to the Big Ten. Apparently, this would all happen next year in 2024. Is that what you're hearing, Richard? This would happen in 2024?
2024.
Yeah, and then, the news, Arizona State left, Arizona's leaving to the Big 12, and all of a sudden that becomes kind of a formidable conference that close to the level of the SEC and then the Big Ten. Nobody has the revenue payouts the Big Ten has. Finally is going to justify Rutgers' move there. And then what happens in the Atlantic Coast Conference? There's rumblings about Florida and Clemson in particular, maybe Miami not being happy with where they're at and the amount of revenue they get out of the ACC and looking for a better deal. And then maybe Stanford especially, and maybe California too, joining the ACC. Stanford would fit in academically. Stanford would fit in academically to the Big Ten, which has a number of prestigious academic universities in it, and academic organizations sharing of research and library and materials is a factor in the Big Ten. So we'll see. Stanford would be a good fit. The question is, would they bring Cal along with them? Cal is not as strong at an athletic program. It's a big school. It's got a lot of alumni. And the question is whether Cal could be brought along to the Big Ten, or would the Big Ten prefer poach someone from the ACC like North Carolina or Duke? Especially North Carolina, it's got very strong athletic programs. Or could the Big Ten say, like to go for the likes of Clemson or Florida State or Miami? Not as prestigious academically, but very strong athletic programs. And I think everybody from the Midwest wouldn't mind road trips down to Miami to play there, the Hurricanes. So we'll see. But a lot happening there. So, Richard, we were up at Army camp on Saturday, and I'd like to play for our audience a little bit of our talk with Army head coach Jeff Monken. Football practice, and I have a chance to talk to the head coach, Army football, and that is Jeff Monken. And Coach, end of your first week, you got several practices in. What are you thinking about how it's going so far?
Oh, it's hard to pass judgment on day 4. We were in shells the last 2 days. I thought today was the best work we had because we were able to get some interaction, and that was positive. There's plenty of things we got to get better at, but the guys are practicing hard. The spirits are great, and I'm really encouraged by the rookies we got out here.
Good to see Tyson Riley, Jacoby Buchanan. That you're too big. The old offense called a fullback, I guess, but they're out there running, catching passes. How do you see them so far in the summer?
They're both doing a good job. It's nice to see Jacoby back out here healthy, and Tyson too. hopefully we can keep those guys healthy. In the running back position, what's interesting is to see some of those slot back types as well as those old B back or fullback type guys all playing the same position, and really, it's any size guy. It's not there's not certain positions for certain body types or anything like that. They're all learning that position, and they've all got value based on their skill sets.
Very good. And I thought Bryson Daily had a number of solid completions today, and also Dwayne Coleman's been out there and Alex Meredith. How do you see your quarterbacks progressing so far?
Those three guys that you mentioned, the veteran guys, they're doing a good job. Jacob Azizi is out here. He was hurt all last year, so he's out here really for the first time taking reps, and then he's doing a good job. It's just he got to knock some rust off. I'm really disappointed that Zach Mundell is not out there and able to practice right now. Hopefully he's going to get healthy pretty soon, and that kind of rounds out the veteran guys. But the freshman group, there's a couple of guys in that group that I'm really impressed with, and I'm anxious to see them go through the next couple of days, the full pads practice that we'll have on Tuesday, and then the scrimmage next Saturday, and just really see how far they've come along. But that's encouraging to see some young guys that we feel really good about.
Okay, that was Army head coach Jeff Monken. We talked to on after the Saturday afternoon practice, and he seemed pretty positive. But this is a big question mark, Richard, for the quarterback position. We kind of got used to having they called it a room full of experienced quarterbacks to utilize, and sometimes we'd see 2 or 3 or 4 in a game. But now, with 3 quarterbacks graduating last year, it's going to be a less experienced quarterback. Could be Bryson Daily. I think, as I said, if the season started tomorrow, he'd be there. You got some backups, I would say, in Alex Meredith. You got Dwayne Coleman. And I think one of the players that Coach Monken was talking about is Champ Harris, a freshman that they're impressed with. There's a couple of others. So we'll see what happens there. Coach Monken talked about Jacoby Buchanan and Tyson Riley being looking good. I saw Tyson Riley catch a short pass out of the backfield, like a screen pass, and he looked good. Looked good on his feet. Looked quick. And we've been talking to Jacoby Buchanan. I think he's lost a little weight. I think he's under 270 this year, but he is looked fit, ready to play, and those two can make a big impact, because when they need short yardage, you got 2 guys there who can, you can give the ball to and count on them, getting that key, making that key 3rd down, making the key 4th down, which Jeff Monken likes to go, perhaps more so than in a passing situation. Richard, who do you think, which of those do you think will end up being Army's starting quarterback this year when they go down to play Louisiana Monroe? You think Bryson Daily?
I'm going to go Bryson Daily. Bryson Daily.
Okay, well, I think I'd agree, but we'll see. They want, it depends also on when you have a new offensive coordinator in Drew Thatcher, and he is going to be starting to look at who's going to be his quarterback, going forward and for the next couple of years. And I remember when Ahmad Bradshaw was selected to be the starting quarterback, and then Kellen Hopkins. Excuse me. You never, coaches have, different thoughts on it. You obviously want a quarterback who can be effective day one, but then you're also thinking who could be the quarterback for the next several years. Personally, I think with the the first 2 games, Louisiana Monroe and then home to Delaware State, give Army a little chance to get this new offense demonstrated out on the field, show what it can do. And then you're going to go into the schedule where they've got at Syracuse, home to Boston College. And then 2 weeks later, they're going to go to play in front of 100,000 people at Louisiana State on a Saturday night in Baton Rouge. And so it's going to be interesting. One of the pluses for Army that they've been talking about is the size and experience of the offensive line. They've got all experienced players on their first line, which looks like it's going to be Jordan Law. They call him Booby Law, and he likes being called Booby Law. You call him Jordan, and you think you're not in step. He's number 77. You got Jackson Philipwitz at left guard, and Sam Barsick at center. But we also have another player who is could very well be the starting center, and then that is Bill Katzinas. I'm going to get his name right yet, but he's at 6'1", 300. The right tackle would be the captain on offense, Connor Finucane, and then Simon Dillinger. Could be Shane Buckingham at tackle as well. What was pointed out, Connor Finucane pointed out on opening day, was that Army has 10 300-pound players in its first and its two deep for the offensive line, which is remarkable. All of the top 10 players now are 300 pounds. We talked with Shane Buckingham last night. He talked about the weightlifting they did and the nutrition and drinking the protein shakes. So that's pretty extraordinary, Richard, for Army and Academy team to have 10 300-pound offensive linemen to send out there.
It's gonna really make they could be looking intimidating when they face the opponents.
Well, I think LSU is going to have some comparable big defensive linemen. We talked a little bit with Darius Richardson last night, and he's up to 300 pounds now. They said he came to West Point at 215, and now he's up to 300 to be starting nose tackle. Competition there, but it's good to see him. Let's play another one of our player interviews that we did up at West Point over the last week. And let's talk hear from Army wide receiver now, Ay Juan Marshall. Football practice. So at the end of the first week of summer practice this year, I have a chance to talk with number 3, and that is Ay Juan Marshall, a senior, now a wide receiver. Positions all changing this year. And Ay Juan, good to see you. What's practice been like for you so far?
It's just been a grind. It's camp, so we gotta have our foot on the pedal. We can't let up. We play in less than 30 days, so we gotta continue to get better every day.
And you got a new offense this year, more wide open, perhaps passing the ball more than you've done in the past. What has learning and adapting to the new offense been like for you?
I think it's been pretty good. Having that spring to adapt really to the new offense and just adapt to the play actions and the different formations and things of that nature. It was just an opportunity for us to create some new tools for the spring to use in the fall, and then create new tools in the fall to use during the season.
Well, just checking your stats, you had 256 yards rushing last year, 208 yards from 6 catches. But what really stands out is the over 10 yards a rush. We got to get you the ball more often. So what were some of the highlights last year for you?
Last year wasn't a highlight. We were at 6-6. That's not the standard that we hold here as a team. So we just look to build on the note being Navy last year. We look to build off on that and continue in this year. But we can't celebrate that. That was in the past, and I did what I had to do for the team last year. But I got to do what I need to do for the team this year.
Very good. Tell us what's your summer like, and what's the military side of your life?
So I started off the summer with CLDT, Cadet Leadership Development Training, where you are either a PL or PSG and you're in the field and you're kind of doing ambushes and raids and patrol bases and things of that nature. So it was just to give you an idea of what it feels like to kind of lead the troops for once. But other than that, I had 2 classes this summer, and it was just a surreal feeling because, you know, I'm going into my final year. So everything kind of just like an all moment. So I got to take everything in.
What's your academic major, your major study area?
I'm a law and legal study major, sir.
Very good. And have you thought about what you maybe want to branch in the Army?
Not yet. I want to take it one day at a time. Let's get to the next day of camp, and then let's get the ULM, and then after that, we'll figure it out.
Absolutely. What part of your game are you working on the most? Obviously, the new offense, a lot of things changes. Your speed comes much more into play. What's a kind of key thing you're working on?
I think the biggest thing I can work on is being a leader for the younger guys. Got to leave a legacy for the younger guys. You want Army football to continue to be great after you're gone. So if I can continue to be a leader, everything else will follow. That's about it, to be honest. Just I can work on my hands, my blocking, my running, my catching, things of that nature. But I think the most important thing right now that the team needs me to do is be a leader.
Sean Marshall, I can see your leadership skills emerging just in your comments. Great to see you. And we'll be following you through summer camp.
Sir, thank you. Take care.
It's Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVetsMedia. Okay, Richard, that was Ay Juan Marshall after Saturday's practice. I thought he spoke with a lot of maturity. You know, didn't point out a personal success last year, but he talked about not meeting the standard, the 6-6 record, not being the standard for Army football, but wanting to build off the win over Navy, and his key role this year is leading the younger players. As a senior, as a firstie, they call him at West Point, and I thought that demonstrated quite a bit of maturity. So I'd say we talked to Drew Thatcher, and we talked a little bit with Nate Woody, the defensive coordinator, and talked a little bit about some of the defensive players. Austin Hill, one of the captains, seems to be growing to become a standout defensive lineman. Talked with about some of the linebackers led by really Leo Lowen and Jimmy Charlo. Charlo had been a defensive back, moved into a linebacker role. Leo Lowen just made a ton of tackles. I think he made nearly 150 tackles, Richard, last year. That takes something out of your body. I think he had to skip a couple of games just because it was catching up with him. So many hits that he was involved in. But he never wanted to complain about that. And then also talking with Jabari Moore, who's played 46 games for Army. He's got 6 interceptions, a lot of tackles, and he's going to be one of the safeties. And so a bunch of players. Let's see. I think I've got another interview we can play for one of the defensive players we talked to last week.
True or false? You can pour hot water down a drain to unfreeze your pipes. False!
Hey, how's it going?
Good, Max. Good to see you. Ken Kraetzer, CaMMVetsMedia. How was your practice out there today?
It was good. I thought the defense looked good. We put in some new calls today, so just working through that, but I feel great.
Okay, well, tell us a little bit about last year. You were in 12 games, had 40 tackles. That's a lot of playmaking on defense, a couple of sacks. Tell us about some of the highlights of last year for you.
Honestly, the highlights were really the guys I got to play with, like Quell really mentored me throughout, my freshman, sophomore year. DeAndre Tobias, Q Hammonds, like those guys. Getting to play with those guys as a unit was super fun. We'd have, 3 safeties on the field sometime, and just getting to work with them every day. That was a great feeling. That's what I remember from last year.
Very good. Now tell us a little bit about your position in the defensive backfield. Where are you? What's your role?
Yeah, so I'm at free safety, so I play into the boundary mainly. Then I'll have Q across from me. He plays strong.
Okay. What are some of the keys to that position? Certainly, you're trying to protect the deep ball, but you've got responsibilities to stop the run, and coordinate the team on defense. What are some of the priorities on that position for you?
Yeah, you really hit on it. Protecting the deep pass, that's safety's main goal, right? Stay over top, and then 2, being able to adjust and then come downhill and play in the run. That's a goal for both the safeties, really. Be able to do both those jobs really well, and of course create turnovers.
For sure. Hey, tell us about some of the players in your room on defense, defensive backfield. What are some of your other teammates in that area?
Oh yeah, for sure. We got Casey Larkin, Gavin Shields, Tommy Sotelo, Aaron Bibbins, right? Like these guys are working each and every day. Colin Madison, he's really shown out. I think he's had a few turnovers past few days. He's really having a good camp right now. Those are my guys. Those are guys we go out with in the summer. We hang out with all summer. So they're awesome. Very good.
Was there any temptation over the summer to look at the offenses of some of those teams you're going to play in the fall?
Of course, you're always looking ahead, but right now we're just focusing on ourselves. The games will come, but that's why we have preseason camp, right? Focus on ourselves, compete and just get after it.
Very good. Now, going into your junior year, what is West Point been like for you? Now you're going to confirm as to go become an Army officer this year. What has West Point been like for you so far?
It's been a challenge for sure, academically, mentally, but I can't say that I don't love it. I love the people here. That's really what keeps me around. Football is great. Teachers are awesome. So I think I just really bought in this past year and have kind of fell in love with the way of West Point.
What town are you from in Texas?
Church, Texas. Little town. It's not that little, actually. It's a little north of San Antonio.
Okay.
I'm heading towards Austin, New Braunfels area.
So you got a game down there this year. You're going to have all your friends and family there.
Yeah. Frank Harris, the quarterback there, is actually one of my best friends. So there'll be a lot of people there. He went to the same high school as me. So.
Very good, very good. And just as a safety, protecting the deep pass is speed just a key for you to be, stay up with all the fast wide receivers?
100%. Cutting down weight, getting to that perfect weight that I can play at first game of the season. And then maintaining that speed. Of course, that's the biggest thing that you can do to keep up with those receivers, but also just technique, right? You put yourself in the right spot. You can know the reads, know the calls, know the plays before they happen. And then the guy may be faster than you, but if you can mentally outwork him, then you put yourself in the right position.
Absolutely. Now, defense coordinator Nate Woody, now he's been there a few years, most of your time at West Point. What is his big comment or for the defense this year? Is there a key theme to his messages? What he wants you to achieve?
One of the goals on our plan is stop the run and run the ball, right? So really stopping the run, that'll get our defense going. Running to the ball, creating turnovers. That's his big keys right there. Just really running to the ball. Getting 11 guys each tackle.
It seems like he keeps your attention, and he's really a good positive motivator, Coach Woody. What is he like in practice for you?
That's exactly what he is, right? He's always keeping the energy up, never letting us get down. And then after practice, he always has a little story to motivate us. He's got a ton of experience. He's been to a lot of places. He's got a ton of great things to tell us to motivate us. And I love Coach Woody.
And this final thought, what's the key for your preparation in camp and then getting set for the season?
Yeah, honestly, it's just getting the defense as best as we could be. 11 guys start the first game, but that does not mean 11 players play the whole season, right? Well, we need depth.
We need people who can play when their number's called. So really working to get all of these guys ready, all of us ready, myself included. Just be ready to play when our number's called.
Max, great to talk to you. Look forward to seeing you at
Sure, you
the
too,
West
man.
Point very soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, that was Army safety Max Didomenico. I loved his thought about being able to anticipate what the quarterback's going to do, what their call is, and that he knows Frank Harris, who's the quarterback at San Antonio, University of Texas, San Antonio. Harris has been there a while. Some people kid about how many years he's played, but a fine quarterback, has an NFL possibility future. But anyway, so that was good. What did you think of that talk with Max Didomenico?
Oh, but I really thought it was great. He had, I think, some, you know, fantastic insights like that, how he's like prepared for the season, and like how he, you know, works really hard on staying in game shape and really getting and even preparing for the season.
Okay, well, let's we got a few minutes left. Let's hear from, we sat down with the prospective number one quarterback on the depth chart for Army, and that is Bryson Daily. Let's hear a little bit of our talk with Bryson Daily last week. Hey, Bryson.
How's it going, Ken?
Good. Good to see you. Hopefully get to see you out on the practice field this weekend in person. How was your first couple of days of practice?
It's been good. We're trying to take things rep by rep, but we're looking better every rep, so it's been good.
Coach Monken said yesterday that you got the first rep at quarterback in practice on Monday. How did that feel, or your first day?
It was good. It feels good being out there back with the guys. I'll take any rep I can get, so it was a good day.
Yeah, tell us a little bit. Last year we saw you play. You got in a series at Massachusetts. You got the long touchdown. Tell us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to travel last year with 3 seniors. Got to learn a lot from them, and thankfully they built up some leads so I could get in and I could get to play a little bit. And getting those first couple scores was unbelievable feeling, and hopefully I can replicate that a few times this year.
Well, I'm sure that experience is really going to help you this year. Now, we saw you at spring practice and in the spring game. How did your game evolve this spring?
Just learning the new offense. It took some time. Definitely some obstacles learning that. But every practice, we got better and better. Coach Thatcher did a great job installing it, teaching it to us. It just got better throughout the spring, and we're just continuing that through the fall.
Well, it certainly is different. Now, one of the aspects is that it's out of the shotgun. Coach Monk was talking about that a little bit yesterday. How is that different from you versus being under center?
You don't have to practice it as much. The exchanges are a lot easier, from the shotgun. The centers caught on really quick. They've been doing a great job with it. It's allowed us to really work on the other parts of the game, throwing the ball, meshes with our running backs, stuff like that.
Very good. Now, watching the spring game, you were, it seemed like passing was over 50% of the time. I'm sure they're trying to work on some of the new plays and formations, but how is it for you to be passing the ball perhaps as much as you may be this fall?
As a quarterback, it's awesome. It feels like what we were doing in high school. It's fun. It's exciting. The receivers love it. They've been doing a great job. It's an exciting time for Army football.
Very good. And certainly you've got a lot of young quarterbacks. Dwayne Coleman played in the spring game, and you've got a number of others. What is it like in the quarterback room this year when you're one of the older guys versus in the past there were a number of seniors?
Yes, sir. It's definitely a younger, experienced room. We got Alex Meredith. He's a senior. than me, and then all the other guys are underclassmen. But we really have a great room. It's been great competition. We're helping each other at the same time as we're competing every day in practice, and that's really helped us get better and really challenge each other.
Bryson, just remind us where you're from and why you decided on West Point.
I'm from Abernathy, Texas. Went to Abernathy High School, and I came to West Point because it was a great opportunity to play Division I FBS football, great education, and then, of course, the opportunity to serve my country.
Absolutely. What academic major are you involved in?
I'm doing engineering management.
Very good, very good. Tell us about your summer. I hear most of the football players got a weekend in the cadet leadership program out of Camp Buckner.
So my summer detail, I went to Fort Drum and I shadowed a lieutenant. That was my training. That was a great experience, seeing what they do in their day-to-day job. So that was a great experience for me and my class.
Yeah, 10th Mountain Division. What really stood out about going up there to Fort Drum and working with the 10th Mountain Division?
10th Mountain's a really close unit, a real family-oriented unit, which is really cool to see. They train hard, and they really seem like they care about what they're doing, which is great to see. Coming from a football team, that seems like what I'm going to join when I join the Army as well.
Very good. So you're out with an infantry unit there?
Yes, I shadowed an infantry platoon leader.
That's great. So what's your challenge? What are you working on as you go through camp? What's a big priority for you?
I'm really trying to hone in on the mental aspect of the game, just taking every play, one play at a time, and controlling emotions, and just really trying to be a leader on the field as a quarterback.
And I just got to ask you, we heard a little bit from Connor Panukin yesterday about the size of the offensive line at Army now. 10 players over 300 pounds. I remember when Army didn't have a 300-pound offensive line. How is it to have all those big guys in front of you?
Oh, it's awesome. I love watching those big fellas walk around the locker room and then stand in front of me when we're on the field. They look great. They got really big this offseason, and it's been great to see. So it makes a quarterback happy.
Very good. Bryce, great to chat with you today. We'll see you up at West Point very soon.
Yep. Thanks, Ken. Have a good one.
Okay, and that was Army junior quarterback Bryson Daily, top of the depth chart as of the moment. We'll see what happens. Saturday, Army's going to have a scrimmage at Mikey Stadium. It's a 2:00 start. With the freshmen having a chance to play, and then the varsity is going to come out a little later and join them and have a full scrimmage, which is going to be interesting to see. We're going to be watching the quarterbacks and seeing what they can do, and all the other players. You know what I always notice in this, Richard, in the scrimmages, I look for players like maybe on a special teams, on a punt or a kickoff drill, who really shows hustle. And you can tell is trying to make get themselves onto a special team or to move up the depth chart. And it's always fun to see those hustling players. And then sometimes we'll talk to them afterwards. So, Richard, college football, what are you looking forward to this season?
Well, what I'm looking forward to this season, another fantastic Army season. Will the Georgia Bulldogs get a third straight national championship? And frankly, what will Georgia, will they get a third championship? And I'm paying attention also at SEC. What will also Alabama do? What will Nick Saban do? And schools that have usually been in the playoffs, I believe Oregon's also been in there. What they will be doing to really prepare for the season and hopefully a great season.
Yeah, it's going to be for the schools that are involved with conference realignment, especially on the West Coast, it's going to be a year of transition and in some cases uncertainty as to what their future is going to be, what conference they're going to be in. And for the athletic departments, I would say Oregon State and Washington State are going to be really concerned about drop in revenue, no longer getting the Pac-12 revenue payout, and perhaps going to the Mountain West, where it's a difference of $25 million, which pays a lot of the expenses for an athletic department. But that's with the Mountain West teams, and not so different from the American Conference or the Sun Belt or Conference USA, the so-called group of 5 conferences. Much less television money, but they all find a way to compete. And it's great to see, we got to visit or see Troy University last year. They have a fine program. You and I were both, and your dad went down to Coastal Carolina last year. Saw that game, and
that was a blast.
It was a good football game. The students were thousands of the students were all there. I guess what happens when you have a Friday night Labor Day weekend, they all went to the football game on Friday and the beach on Saturday. But it was fun. But you see those programs. San Diego State just built a new football stadium. Hawaii's building a new football stadium. So all life in college football is not in the Power 5, which may be down to a Power 4. And we'll see what happens with the ACC, if they can hold on to Clemson and Florida State and Miami, and what happens to Stanford and Cal, whether they get an invitation to the Big Ten, which people don't really see as happening. Or would they take an invitation to the ACC? Or would they go to the Big 12, and the Big 12 will have, I don't know how many teams they're going to have now. That helps them a little bit on geography. But it's just unfortunate that college football can't have a West Coast conference. And that makes sense for the reduced travel. I guess it would be nice if we had a big conference in the Northeast, but the Big East dropped football, when a lot of its members left. So we'll see, but a lot of uncertainty, a lot of athletic directors watching very carefully and plotting moves that they may have to make. And Army, not in a conference. Could they get an invitation to join a conference? I don't know. I still think it's unlikely. The challenge with Army staying independent is scheduling. Can they schedule the type of team, the type of schedule that they want? It gets tough to find games in November. But there's a lot of schools that want to come to West Point. There was even talk over the summer that Oklahoma wanted to reschedule its game that was at West Point that was canceled in 2020 and played next year. And that's still, we haven't heard Mike Buddy say it's not in the offing. There was a sports writer at Oklahoma, Barry Trammell, that was talking it up. And it would be nice if it happened. Army, of course, is on athletics, is planning to tear down those east stands that are behind me in the picture and build a big new grandstand with luxury boxes and facilities for hospitality. But they didn't start. And they said the construction costs went up faster than they could raise the money to pay for them. Obviously, and also West Point is recovering from the huge storm they had on July 9th when they got 9 inches of rain in a couple of hours and had $111 million damage to the campus, to the post. Roads broken. The area on Washington Road, Richard, which sort of, where the retail stores are, with a Starbucks and a Subway as a landmark. Then the cemetery, and then you go over to where the Catholic chapel is. That road is still closed as of Monday. I don't know if it opened, but it looks like it needs substantial work. Fortunately, and also a number of the buildings, especially like some of the coaches' houses that are just above Thayer Road, which is fairly low on the campus, were dramatically damaged, and also one of the engineering buildings, 606 they call it, was damaged. They have to relocate the healthcare clinic and dental office there up to the hospital. So we'll see what happens. Had a chance to talk a little bit with the superintendent on Monday, Lieutenant General Steve Gillen. He's pretty optimistic about having a great start to the new year. They got to start classes again on Monday. They have their what they call reorg week. I was up there on Monday to watch the freshmen march back from cadet basic training. They do a 12-mile march with full packs from Camp Buckner back through the golf course area, over the mountain, through the golf course, back into the community. They get a huge reception. And what happened on Monday is a heavy rainstorm in the middle of the night. And they started that march at about 3 a.m. And they marched for 2 hours through a torrential downpour. But I have to give the superintendent a lot of credential on that. Is that he led the 1,200 freshmen on their march back to the campus. So anyway, so that I think pretty much wraps up our first Army football huddle. Look forward to some of our colleagues joining us in the upcoming weeks. But Richard, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, Ken.
Absolutely. And this is Ken Kraetzer for CaMMVetsMedia. We cover cadets, midshipmen, the military, and veterans proudly since 2008. And if you'd like to participate as an alumnus, we love to have alumni call into these shows. Or if you'd like to be a partner, let us know. That will help us get to more Army road games this year. We're going to be at the LSU game. We're going to be at the Air Force game. We're trying to add a couple more. We'll be at Syracuse. And of course, we'll be at the Navy game this year up in Foxborough, Massachusetts, which, by the way, is just outside Providence, Rhode Island. All the people in Rhode Island are excited about having the Army-Navy game in their neighborhood. So, Richard, thank you again, and thank you all for watching. We'll have another episode during Army Summer Camp. Thanks for watching, and have a good evening.